are.
All right, we are ready whenever you are, Commissioner.
All right. Watching the clock here. All right, well, good morning. This is the regular meeting for the Cook County Board of Commissioners. I'd like to welcome everyone to our Tuesday, January 25th meeting. At this time, in addition to calling us to order, I'd like us to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So as we begin this morning, are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Madam Chair, I would ask to move the 3 revolving loan fund items G, I, and J from consent to auditor,
All right,
considering there may be questions.
all right, happy to do that. And are there any other changes to the agenda?
Madam Chair, if I may, I would like to move the approval of the agreement with University of Extension, University of Michigan. Let me start over. I clearly need more coffee. I would like to move item 11A, which is the approval of the agreement with University of Minnesota Extension, to section 4.
All
So
right.
that we can discuss that while Carrie Cavett is on the line.
I'll be happy to do that. We'll label that as item C. Are there any other additions or changes to the agenda? All right, if not, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Spallison. Is there a second?
Support?
Thank
Oh,
you, Commissioner Mills. Everybody jumps in all at once. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, at this point, we have our public comment period. This is our opportunity for members of the public to address the county board. I do not see any members of the public here in the commissioner's room. Administrator Yorkie, have you received any written comments to read?
Madam Chair, I have not.
All right. At that juncture, we will then move on to our consent agenda items. And just a reminder that we have removed items G, I, and J to the auditor's portion of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
We'll move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Thank you, Commissioner Swallison. Is there support?
Storley support.
Thank you, Commissioner Storley. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. So we are on to item 4, which is our Community Center Extension Report. And we have Carrie Cavett on the line from the University of Minnesota Extension. Carrie, we'll turn it over to you.
Carrie, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you okay. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. First, I just have to apologize that I am not in person with you, but it's probably to your benefit today. I'm feeling a little under the weather. Sorry for my scratchy voice here. I do look forward to meeting all of you in person, hopefully soon. My name is Carrie Cavett. I'm the Regional Director with the University of Minnesota Extension, and I'm elated to be working with Cook County. You may have seen or heard from, worked with directly my colleague Lori Vici in the past, and I know that she had worked with you all on the MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement that was for 2021. That agreement has, or technically on paper, expired in December of this last year. And so just wanted to introduce you to this memorandum of agreement that is orchestrated by, or an agreement that is crafted, rather, by the Association of Minnesota Counties Extension Committee. And it is a standard agreement that is used for all counties that have an educator, local educator, in the counties that they're working in to really establish the payments and the wages, as well as the benefits, professional development, mileage, as well as training associated with that local educator. So where I'm referencing all those details is number 3 on the memorandum of agreement, which I believe you all have a copy of. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
And so you'll also see under number 3 there that what the county is also agreeing to do to support the local educator in the form of staff support, office furnishings, telephone, computers, software, etc. And so that is something that has, again, already been set up in 2021 with an agreement. And this agreement is for a 3-year term starting, post January 1st of 2022 through December 31st of 2024. And I just want you to know that we have had conversations in 3 separate meetings with the County Extension Committee, and I would invite Commissioner Hawkins and Commissioner Storley if they have anything to add, but we did discuss this memorandum of agreement at our November 8th, December 13th, and January 10th meetings. And there were some questions and wonderings about, potential grant funds, how that would work when, our local educator writes grants. How do those run through and what is the process? And so I do want to be open about that. James and I and others are working on an addendum that would go alongside this memorandum of agreement that would help spell out how that process would work. There was some concerns related to when and if the university, indirect costs would need to be associated with certain grants or not. And so that's something definitely that is still on the list to do. And I want to be transparent. There will be a coming addendum to this to address those concerns as noted by the CEC, the County Extension Committee.
And Carrie, if I could just interject for a moment.
Yes.
Just wanted to add to that. There was a lot of discussion and I think concern among Extension Committee members about the idea that the university might impose indirect fees on any grants that Sarah Waddle would write for the county. And the discussion that we've had is typically for the kinds of grants that Diane Booth would write, small grants to support the backpack program, for example, and other programs that are specific to Cook County. Those grants would not be subject to any indirect charges by the university. It's only in cases where Sarah might be participating in the development of a grant application that would benefit multiple counties, where the university would charge those kinds of indirect fees. But for smaller grants that are specific to Cook County, that would not be the case.
Are there any questions for Carrie or any remarks other commissioners have?
Not yet. Is Carrie finished?
Carrie, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
No, thank you. Just if there's any questions.
Okay. Commissioner Storley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Carrie. In looking through this memorandum, I think for the public to understand that for 70-plus years we've been under the name of County Extension Agent, and now it's going to be changed to Extension Educator, I understand. It's a semantic thing, but I think so that we don't have confusion, that is because we're under the auspices now of the University of Minnesota. And I think that it will be a good fit as long as we understand the cooperation between what the county residents feel is important for their programming. We've worked many months in putting together programs. sorted it all out and listed that. And then along with the county extension, or with the Minnesota extension, they have wonderful webinars, seminars, and that will continue on. Participate as you want or not, but that is a great asset for us to have from the university. And I think it's going to be a matter of time that we work things out, so that it's a whole different phase in how we're approaching the extension. And I do want to make aware the fact that Sarah has started her job as of yesterday. She's also the community director for the building and for anything that goes on within the community building itself. So she really has two jobs. This doesn't address it. This is only from the university. So I think we all need to be aware of her balancing things out and how she's going to work in both capacities. And, time will tell again. We're lucky to have two gals who filled in while Sarah was away, and we appreciate their work that they did, and I'm sure they will give Sarah a good updating as to what they've been doing too. So I think for now, and the important thing is in paragraphs 8 and 9, if we would come to some type of a disagreement, we do have 90 days that we could provide a reason why. So we appreciate that part too. So thank you, Carrie.
Commissioner Hawkins, anything you would like to add? I know you've been involved.
Yeah, and I agree with Commissioner Storley, and I appreciate her perspective of being on this committee for so long, and me being new. But the Extension Committee, I think, really struggled with this, but I think this memorandum of agreement, I think, is good, and I agree that we can change it, and there's going to be transitions, and I'm kind of excited about what the extension services are going to be in the future. I think this is a good idea.
Any other questions or comments for Carrie? Commissioner Mills.
Madam Chair, thank you. And I just wanted to thank Carrie for her work, both in the interview process as well as before that, when we were navigating how we might want to approach this, and also after the hiring of Sarah. Just Carrie's been wonderful to work with, and we're really lucky to have this partnership. And one of the things I learned going through this whole process is how well all of the community center programs fit within Extension. And so, like Commissioner Storley said, there is kind of that dual role aspect that we've been navigating. But a lot of it is semantics, and there's just such a good fit for all those programs within Extension that it's really, really exciting, I think, to work with that fit, and then also leverage more of what Extension has to offer to benefit our community and the community center. And it's just, as Commissioner Hawkins said, a really exciting time to move ahead with what Extension has to offer.
Thank you so much. Any other remarks or questions? Well, certainly, Carrie, it's been great to hear and learn about the memorandum of agreement with the university. I appreciate the work that you're doing on the addendum and all the meetings that you've had to kind of clarify things. And I think we're all looking forward to a great partnership with the University of Minnesota, a continuing and growing partnership as well. With that, is there a motion to approve the MOA with the University of Minnesota to provide our extension services?
And Madam Chair, if I could just interject briefly. So item 9 in the MOA, that speaks to the indirect costs, that item will actually be removed from this document and incorporated in the addendum. So the request is to approve the MOA without item 9, and with the understanding that an addendum will be created to address, to basically lay out the terms of what when indirect charges will and won't apply.
All right, thank you for clarifying that. So again, this removes item 9, and that will be addressed in the addendum that we referred to. Is there a motion to approve with the amendment?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner
I'd like to make a motion to move ahead to approve the MOA with the caveat of removing item 9 and in a new addendum.
Thank you, Commissioner Storley. Is there support?
Madam Chair, I'd support.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. We have a motion and support. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we will move on to your other 2 items, and those are the references to Melinda Spindler and George Harrelson as Extension Committee members. We'll turn it back to you, Carrie.
Yes, the committee extension recommended to this county board for your consideration of approving the 2 applicants on January 10th at our meeting. We thought that they both fit the of the county extension committee work and would really be appreciative of them being able to join the committee.
Are there any questions or remarks from county board?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Mills.
just 2 typos here on email. On the application of Melinda Spindler, the email is boreal.org.
Up.
And then on George Harrelson's, I'm guessing, but know that it's Gmail, not Ymail.
Correct.
All right.
Ymail is actually an email service.
It's a thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I could very well be mistaken then. It may not be a typo.
All right, we will follow up on those for sure. All right. So, is there a motion to approve our 2 committee members, our 2 applicants?
Madam Chair, I'd make the motion to approve both committee members.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. Is there support?
Swallowson supports.
Thank you, Commissioner Swallowson. We have a motion and support. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much, Carrie. We appreciate all the work that you're doing to create this partnership and move it in a new and great direction.
Thank you. I really appreciate all the support. One other thing I just wanted to quickly mention is we do have one other vacant spot. The County Extension Committee has 9 seats, and 6 of those are community members. So with the 2 additional ads, we do have 1 open seat. So it's always a good idea for all of you as commissioners to just know that and be aware of that as you're talking to constituents, and to please send them in my direction, or feel free to have them speak with Commissioner Hawkins or Storley about the opportunity to participate on this committee. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. All right, we'll move on to item 5, maintenance, regarding the YMCA pool lighting estimate.
All right, and this is a long-planned project. Sorry about that. This is a long-planned project to replace the overhead lighting at the YMCA pool, which is vitally important for safety. The existing lights were not designed for the kind of corrosive environment that the natatorium is, and so those lights are really at the end of their life. The bids that we've gotten for the new lights are specific for that kind of application. We did get 2 bids, and I don't want to steal all of Brian's thunder. But anyway, so we did get 2 bids, one from Nordic Electric, one from Hunt Electric. Hunt was the lower bid, and so the recommendation is to approve that bid so that those lights can be installed.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Yorkie. So, Mr. Silence, what would you have to add to that information?
They don't have anything to add to that. That was very good, James.
You timed your entrance perfectly. All right, are there any questions regarding the pool lights? Commissioner Spellison?
So it did look to me like we're going with LED replacements, should be more efficient than the previous lighting.
Yes, there's, I don't know, didn't quite catch everything James said, but there are some rebates. We'll get about $2,000 worth of rebates for going to the LED lights. And also, it'll be way cheaper to run.
Yeah, good.
Well, and I would just add that I really appreciate this, not only in terms of efficiency, we're getting, a rebate back, we're going to save some money on energy, but for the purpose of safety, it's really important to have these. And so I'm really excited to see that these lights are going to be replaced.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Storley.
Thank you. So it isn't just the light bulb, you're going to replace the whole inner casing too, because that's what's been
Yes.
defaulted.
Yes, those fixtures were installed upside down,
Oh.
and they collected more moisture in them, and it set inside of them. So I don't know why that happened, but it did happen.
And
So-
they fit upside down.
Yes. So
Amazing.
those whole fixtures have rusted right through and corroded so
Yeah.
bad that everything has to be changed out.
Okay. Well, good, then we're starting over.
We are.
Okay, good.
All right, other questions? All right, if not, I would entertain a motion to approve the quote from Hunt.
Madam Chair, I'd make the motion to approve the purchase or the bid from Hunt Electric.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. Is there support?
Storley support.
Thank you, Commissioner Storley. We have a motion and support. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, if I may, I just want to thank Brian for his work on this. It's been kind of going round and round for quite some time, and the need's been there for quite some time. And there was a lot of confusion, unknowns at the beginning, just what was required. And so really, I appreciate Brian digging in and getting the answers. And unfortunately, it's more money than we were originally thinking, but now it's less money than we had been planning for. And I also appreciate just the details that was provided as far as the lighting and all the specifications that's included in the packet. So thanks for your good work, Brian.
Thank you.
We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Brian. Appreciate
Have a
your
good
work.
day.
All right, now we have an update from Human Resources, and Leah Ekstrom is with us to share information about the pay equity report.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. I am here actually looking for a motion to approve the pay equity report as submitted. This is a report that's required every 3 years by counties per state statute. The information has been uploaded, you can see in the packet, and then also kind of a guide because it's a little confusing at times, but we are compliant in the county, and so I'm asking for a motion to submit it, approval so I can submit it.
Any questions for Leah?
I saw your finger.
Commissioner Hawk?
Yes, thank you. I just have a question. So most of that information was just off a website so we could learn about how to interpret this report.
Yes.
And so your last page, I know nothing, is what's being submitted.
Yep,
And you're
the
telling me
last-
it matches, right? Because I'm like, I don't know how to interpret all that.
Yep, and it's the last, I have it at the top. Page 100 of the packet through 101 is the information that we submit, kind of the summary data. And then the last page, 102 and 103, is the pay equity form where we submit that the commissioners have submitted and the
Okay,
information
I
from
just
the
wanted to
county.
make sure
Yeah.
that what I'm voting on, it really says,
Yep.
matches that whole long thing. that
Yes,
was
yep, and then the
confusing.
pages in between were the explanations.
Okay, so there
Help.
was one box where it said total payroll that was blank on one of my pages that I was looking at.
And that would have been, I received that information from Mr. Powers, so that would be
Okay.
included, and I don't have it in front
Okay,
of me right at the
that's,
moment.
I
but-
just, so that's what made me think, well, is this the final report, or is this something,
Yes.
so, thank you
Yep.
for clarifying that.
Yes, yep.
Any other questions? Commissioner Mills?
And I believe this is is this the first time that Cook County? No.
Nope, we
Okay.
have been doing it, from what I can gather on our online report, which may not reflect going back very long, but at least 1997, I think, was the last.
And you said every
one.
3 years?
Mhm.
Okay. So it's the first time I think I have been
Yeah.
able to vote on it, but.
Yeah,
it's-
2019 was the last time we did
And-
submit.
Oh, okay. Huh. And I really appreciate the kind of background and that learning aspect of it too. It just really helps understand because it is complicated and statistics can be. And I do see discrepancies, but it is also good to understand those discrepancies a little bit more. And by discrepancies, I just meant between the classes.
Yep.
And then it's also great to hear that we are compliant.
Yeah.
So thank you for your work on that.
Any further questions for Leah? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'm sure I would motion to approve the pay equity report as submitted.
Thank you, Commissioner Spallison. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. We have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Next on our agenda, item 8 is MIS, and we have Rowan Watkins with us today. to
Madam
talk-
Chair?
You have highway is next.
Oh, thank you. I'm missing that.
I just saw a movement in the crowd that did not correspond to what you said.
Oh, my gosh.
If we can consider this a crowd.
All right. Well,
Item 7.
all right, Robbie, thank you.
Good morning.
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 Apologize for that.
No, that's okay.
I'm
That's a
so
big-
eager.
I know.
I've had plenty of coffee.
Yeah, so a lot of these grant opportunities that, we go after require resolutions of support or something like that. And so this is just another one of those. The Transportation's Alternative Program, TA program, it's a competitive grant opportunity for basically anybody to go after. It's very broad. It can be safe routes to school. We've talked about that a lot. It can fund trails, paths, bicycle facilities. It's very broad. Transportation alternatives, just like it says. And so we had submitted a letter of intent a while ago for a multi-use trail, pedestrian path, however we'll phrase it, and we'll figure it out in 2026, the specifics. But to kind of connect from the intersection of the Gunflint Trail and 7 up and around, the sheriff's office, the highway department, all the way over to 5th Avenue, and then down in front of the recycling center to the existing sidewalk. So kind of complete that loop. There's a lot of us that like walking, and kind of that to me is a missing component of like a big loop system like that. If you look at our adopted pedestrian plan for the county and for the city of Grand Marais, it matches that. It's a designated route that people, the work that went into those plans had identified as something we want to do at some point in time. And so I thought this grant opportunity was a really great program to kind of match this project. And so this would be, a resolution of support for submitting the grant application, I guess. Does anybody have, and I attached a couple pictures, that I really roughed in just to get some kind of sense. But does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Robbie? Commissioner Hawkins.
Well, yeah, and I'm wondering, okay, so this is county putting this trail system
Yes.
sidewalk in. Who plows it in the
Great
winter?
question. Tentatively, because of the nature of this, it would be us right now. I know that is an ongoing discussion with the city as far as those services. And so, like we plow, or the sidewalk on 7, for example, is something that we currently take care of. And so I think for now, we would be in charge of that.
And what is an estimated cost for this project?
For plowing or the construction?
For the construction?
Oh, sure.
and-
Let me look it up. real quick here. $500,000 comes to mind, but I can tell you here in 2 seconds. And this is pretty rough because we just based it on, a site walk that we did, and then some really rough estimates from just what we could see out there. So if I look at this, oops. Yeah, a little over $500,000. Call it 600,000. And so the TA grant would cover, what we're proposing through this is the TA grant would cover about 73% of that. So about $400,000. And then we would be covering, $150,000 or somewhere in there, in that range.
And it kind of makes sense to me,
Sure.
having that loop. I did have concerns, though, thinking we're on a busy truck route.
Yes.
We have, I was originally thinking, oh, yeah, there's some land there, we can develop homes, but the city's having an issue of wanting to have housing in the business park. They want
Sure.
to keep, there's been discussion of keeping that separate. And so then I started wondering about, well, is that the best use when I know that the street that I live on, which is directly below the community center, there's people walking in the street there. And I know from this city plan, that was that's an important one, and we've got 8th Avenue over there is an important one for pedestrian safety. So I'm just wondering how this loop
Came up.
rose over those
Sure.
two streets.
So this one, I think, so the first part of your question, I guess, with the truck traffic, and I thought that was one reason this one stuck up to me, is because I see a lot of people walking on the shoulders in this part. And I see the beaten down grass of people just walking there. And so to me, that was an opportunity to get people off of the road and onto a trail for that loop. As far as 8th Avenue is concerned, that's a great example of not just a sidewalk, but that whole road needs a lot of attention. And so that's something where I think it's in our long-range plan at the moment for something many years out, but that would be addressed then. And so it's trying to, I don't think it would be prudent to go to 8th Avenue, put in sidewalks and not address the road issues, because it is a real bad road. As far as the quality of that road and how it rates, it's definitely on our radar of something to replace. Very similar to 5th Avenue. I wouldn't go into 5th Avenue and just do sidewalks. The road needs a lot of attention as well. So 8th Avenue to me was one of those, if we're going to do it, let's do it all, be done with it. So to me, that's where this one stuck out, was there. I think I covered everything.
So that's what I mean. So this is, you're talking, would you say 2026?
Yeah, so federal programs are reimbursements, and so we could do it sooner, but then we would be on the hook for the whole project cost until 2026, where then we would get reimbursed by the federal government through this program. And so that's why, in my mind, and there's a lot that has to go into this still. We have a letter of support from the city, which is great, but there's obviously a lot of public discussion that still needs to occur, like I said. Whether it is actually a multi-use trail or a sidewalk, is it 6 feet wide, is it 10 feet wide? Okay. What kind of median is there between the sidewalk and the road? Is there one? Is this a complete county project, or would the city be willing to kick in a little bit? These are things for discussion. But for the purpose of this grant, we just had to propose a project, put together a rough estimate, and, get everybody's buy-in, I guess, on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That helps, thank you.
You're very welcome.
I thought that, okay, this is what you're doing, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. But
No, there's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
I just
very
wanna
far
make
out.
sure,
It's
yeah.
basically, hey, we have this project. Here's broad scope what it is. We'll tweak it, obviously, until, like I said, 2026 is a ways away. So we'll probably hear more about it if we get it, 2024, or, somewhere in there when we start having more conversations, not only with, the public at the county level, but then also with the city. How do we want it to look? Maintenance, is it going to be concrete or bituminous? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and there's a snowmobile trail that goes through there too.
Right
so
across, right
we'll
across
make
the
sure
street,
we
exactly. So,
don't-
you know, how are we, yep, exactly.
Okay.
You're right.
So, thank you. That's
Very
what I
welcome.
needed to know.
Administrator Yorkie.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say I was glad to hear Commissioner Hawkins mention the possibility of housing, because the area north of the Gunflint, that east-west segment that runs along the north side of town, those lots are all platted and could be developed. There are wetland issues, of course, but, you know, as the HRA moves forward with the recruitment of an executive director, and we get closer to developing a community-wide housing strategy, I see that area as being potentially a good one to look at for new housing opportunities. So I think that would make this project especially valuable. But I also understand your point about the need for sidewalks in other parts of town as well.
Any other questions? Commissioner Solis?
Not a question, just to make sure we put it on the record that this was reviewed and as part of the Safe Routes to School, and so it's been coordinated through that process as well. We had those discussions as we were talking the GES, you know, portion of the Safe Routes to School, and that did come in as a factor because Robbie had, you know, brought that into the discussion, so we knew what was planned or at least discussed along those lines. So anyone thinking along those lines, that's been discussed as well.
And I would just like to add, I look at all the dogs that are being walked, the people that are going down that area, bicycles, traffic going down to GES, and that is an area that is very heavily utilized by our community, and I think it will improve safety a great deal, so I applaud that. And I also know this was part of the discussion at our recent EDA meeting, that we talked about the need for sidewalks close to the business park. If we're going to have housing above businesses, we need to make sure that we have safe ways for people to get around that area. And so this ties in very well with our discussion. Commissioner Storley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a thought, Robbie, because in Tofty, when they put in the bike trail, and it ended at the Outfitters, snowmobilers are now using it. So, there's already a snowmobile trail here, but, will they stay there? And look at there, this is all plowed, we'll go on that, it's easier.
No, that's
Yeah.
that's a good point, and I think it'll be, hopefully if we can, the nice thing, I guess, is the snowmobile trail has been established and has been there for so long. And so hopefully if we can really, and maybe it's working with the club too and making sure, the little orange signs are up that say, this is the trail. And hopefully if it's plowed, nobody wants to ride on that. You want to ride on a little bit of snow, but, good point.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, it's a really exciting project, and I used to live just on the other side of the road from this concept, and yeah, the number of pedestrians, strollers, you name it, it's a high traffic area, both with pedestrians and vehicles and trucks. So it just makes a whole lot of sense, and really wish it would have happened when the road was put in there, but there's always constraints on bigger projects as well. So I just really applaud the work that you've put into this, and it's great to hear that Safe Routes to School has been in the loop, and it makes a whole lot of sense also with just the school campus and the community center campus to have this whole little loop in the EDA. It just really makes a whole lot of sense. So thank you for your work on it again, and just also the strategy that's involved, because there are other needs in the community too, and this one seems like a really good strategic move, so well done.
Thank you.
Any further discussion or questions? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I will make the motion to adopt the resolution of support for the TA program application for Gunflint Trail pedestrian path.
Thank you, Commissioner Svolleson. Is there a second?
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. We have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
We appreciate your work. And now, for MIS, Rowan Watkins, will join us to talk about the bill of sale for the Gunflint Tower and our Microsoft licenses.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, everyone, good morning.
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 Yes, the first item we have is a motion to approve the transfer of assets through an execution of a bill of sale. This is for the Gunflint Tower that was recently built, 2021. This was built by AT&T. This is sort of the last leg of an agreement where AT&T paid to have the tower built, so there's no out-of-pocket expenses for the county, but the county will own the tower so that we can facilitate co-location going forward. We built the tower, or had the tower built to our design and specs to support that co-location going forward in the future. And AT&T will recover their costs through 50% rent abatement. So until the costs of the project to build the tower are recovered, we will receive 50% of the negotiated rent. Upon completion of the rent abatement period, we'll receive 100% of negotiated rent. It took some time for them, obviously, to build the tower, and then for us to review and inspect it. And then there was some back and forth on the language of the bill of sale. It took Black and Veatch a little bit to give us what we wanted on that, but we have that now, and per the recommendation of Attorney Hicken, we have the languages that we needed, and so we are asking for your approval or for you to execute this bill of sale.
Thank you, Rowan. Any questions? Commissioner Hawkins.
Yeah, so I'm wondering about the rent abatement, and I'm assuming this cost more than maybe originally expected. Weren't we expecting like a 5-year rent abatement to pay for this tower? Is that still true?
No, we were expecting close to the term of the lease.
So 25, okay.
20 to 25 years, yep.
All right.
Good question. Any other questions for Rowan? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of assets.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. Is there support?
Storley support.
We have a motion and support. Any further discussion?
I'm sorry, can I ask one more question?
Commissioner Hawkins.
So I know your predecessor did a really great job of planning this out in these lease agreements, and you've done a lot of work, and I really appreciate the foresight of making sure we do have these agreements in place and a plan for the replacement. And I'm just want to verify, are we still on track of keeping the tower account and keeping the abatements and having a plan in place for what it's going to cost us as a county?
Yes, yeah, I mean, the short answer is yes. And what I would say is in, reference to the comments that you made opening your remarks there, that when I started and then when my predecessor, Rena Rogers, started, there was no replacement plan. There was nothing. So what we've done with the tower capital accounts, with help from the auditor's office and setting that up, and other people making sure that, we're doing it the right way to retain this funding, is we've used multiple cell phone leases to offset the cost of some of our operational costs, but the majority of them go into tower capital, which is going to replace them. So, we're looking at about a 50-year replacement plan on towers. We have 2 towers that are past that and that we would need to replace sooner than later, and we currently do not have the tower capital there to do that, but we are working with our partners on a plan to do so. The majority of the other towers are very new, from the early 2000s until very recently. So we have quite a bit of time with several 20 to 25-year leases to build up the revenue required to do that. And then obviously when it gets close to that timeline, what we'll be looking to do is to stagger the replacements and start chipping away at what needs to be replaced.
Thank you.
So we're very, very much better than we are, and we continue to get better and better.
And I thank you for continuing to do that. That is, I think, is really important, and I appreciate your effort in making sure we're thinking ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Here, here.
Absolutely. All right, we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
And now on to item B, which is Microsoft licenses.
Yes. So, make sure I get the dollar value right. We are looking for approval to spend $36,234 in budgeted funds for our Microsoft license and Microsoft Teams phone licenses. This is $588 under what was actually budgeted for this amount, previously approved through the budget process. I was able to work with our IT analyst, Kirk Oberg, and adjust some of those different types of licenses, what we need. Some are just email only for group emails and different things like that. But we're coming in just under budget, and I think, as discussed last time I was here, probably typically a consent agenda item, but we wanted to bring it forward for any additional discussion.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's nice to get that $588 back in our coffers. We like that. Every little bit counts, it all adds up.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. Any questions at all for Rowan? Commissioner Mills.
Have you seen many changes in the rates that are charged, or we just kind of have to, year by year, kind of take it as it comes? And
We do, and in fact, there was a license increase cost for the first time in 5 years when this budget was created. So they're fairly flat. I wouldn't expect to see another increase very soon. I think the majority of the increases that we're looking at here are related to additional staff.
Oh, okay.
The need for licenses there.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Thank you. And so any rate increases, though, we get notified well enough in advance that we can budget for and plan for, and we're not necessarily caught off guard with those.
I don't know that for
Okay.
sure.
I would hope so. It would be in their best interest as well as our best interest to
Yep.
have that, but
Yes, yeah. And our IT analyst, Kirk Goldberg, does a good job of kind of periodically reaching out and checking where we're at with that. But I don't know that they're required to give us any large window where we would have, we would know that for sure. We make the purchase, I believe, in March or April.
Okay.
So, we're trying to set these numbers almost a year in advance or so. So there may be some room in there for a shift. But I'll look into that and find out more.
Yeah, I was just curious. It's so integral to our operations, all of these services, but it's also nothing to sneeze at, so
Yeah.
it's a interesting position to be in. But thank you for putting it together and bringing it forward here.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve the budget?
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the purchase of budgeted funds for the Microsoft Office licenses.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. Is there a second?
Swallowson supports.
Swallowson supports. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just to clarify, I meant to include the Microsoft Teams as well into that.
All right. Thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much, Rowan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ron.
All right, moving on, we're ready for item 9, which is land services. I see that Neva's going to join us this morning. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we have, first of all, on there, item A, the Woodland Foothills PUD. It's a conditional use permit, and what would you like to share with us?
The Planning Commission reviewed this item in their January meeting. It was unanimously supported. This is basically to revise this building setbacks, the structure setbacks within this planned unit development. As you may know, planned unit developments allow for a lot of flexibility for structure setback distances to be modified to account for the small lot sizes. So this will kind of address a administrative oversight that was done about 20 or so years ago. That's caused a little bit of a burden for a lot of the residents that would like to live there. This planned unit development was designed for affordable housing, so it will make sense to make these lots a little easier to build. The proposal is to modify the setbacks kind of lot by lot that matches what the existing utility setbacks are. So that's kind of what they decided was the most logical. So I think you'll see in the packets there's a table that I kind of transposed the setbacks that were in the plat map because it was really hard to see that. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Any discussion? Commissioner Mills?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have a question, but I really do appreciate the table. That does help just clear things up right there. So thank you for your work on this.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Other questions?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Storley.
Thank you. Thank you, Neva, for doing this little plot, because this is down in my area. And, you know, the development started many years ago with one little place, one little house, and now it's really developing into a nice little community. So I'm appreciative of you and the planning to approve all this for future development.
Any other questions? Commissioner
I
Hawkins?
have a question. I want to thank Neva for meeting with me yesterday and help me understand the map and everything. That was very helpful. I do want to raise a concern that was all for understanding why we want to do this. And I understand that area is for affordable housing. My concern had to do with the fact that there's no clause saying these can't become short-term rentals. And in talking to Tim and Neva yesterday, found out through our lawyer, commissioner, land commissioner, whatever lawyer he was, that we can't put a restriction on this because it's a use issue. And I just want to clarify that I do want to see these units developed, or these parcels developed, for affordable housing. And I also have a concern that we're not making sure they're going to be for affordable housing. So I'm just going to put that out there. We have some work to do, I think. And I'm hoping our HRA board will be working hard to rectify these issues that we have in our zoning ordinance. So.
I appreciate those remarks personally. I know that that is something that the HR is looking at, and I also really applaud, Neva, your work on this. I feel like some of these small communities are going to be some of what's dealt with in the very near future for Cook County in order to meet our workforce housing needs, and so it's important that we all work together, that we have a lot of discussion, and that we move forward with other places like this that will meet our community's needs. Thank you. That, any other further discussion or questions?
I do have one question, and just a clarification. Sorry, I'm scrolling back to it. It was something about 4 of the 6 are undeveloped. And it looks to me that 4 are undeveloped, but 6 are developed. So is it 4 out of 10, or is it just as far as?
Yeah, it should be 4 out of 10.
Okay.
So thank
I just
you
got
for
confused.
catching
Thank you
that.
for clarifying. Okay.
Certainly, yep.
That was all, sorry.
All right, thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we move on now to item B, which is the 101 Plum LLC. This is the conditional use permit for the coffee shop up the Gunflint Trail, located in the mid-trail area. And Neva, what would you like to share with us?
This conditional use permit was also unanimously supported by the Planning Commission during their January meeting. The applicant would like to do a conditional use for a home business to operate a coffee shop and a bakery and retail in that location. It's the former Loon's Nest Gifts. He kind of runs a coffee roasting business down in southern Minnesota, so we'd like to bring his beans up here. So he won't be roasting on site, but the bakery use and coffee use will require some septic inspections to be done to make sure that the septic will be able to accommodate that use. Yeah, otherwise, I think it was a really good discussion. There were some conditions that were proposed to be added onto the conditional use that were, supported by the applicant. There was no issues with that, and we didn't have any opposition from the community or anything like that. So.
Any questions for Neva? Commissioner Storley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just curious, because this was a business before, so then you have to go through the whole process again for another business in their name. Is that the idea?
In general, the business is a different one. So before it was Loon's Nest Gifts. Now it's being used as a home occupation, or a home business, excuse me, for that bakery and the coffee shop components. So if it was just retail again, most likely the conditional use would have satisfied, it would have carried over. But this use was different enough from the original conditional use permit that required a new one.
Okay. Thank you. I think it's a great idea. Go up the trail, grab a little something, and go hiking or whatever. So, and I'm glad to see the use of that building being another business.
Other questions? Any further discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for 101 Plum LLC.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mills. Is there support?
Storley, support.
Thank you, Commissioner Storley. We have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. And now we have an appointment to the Planning Commission. This is exciting. All right, Neva, tell us a little bit about Mike Gieske.
So he will be filling a new position. I didn't print off his application, my apologies, but I understand he has a firefighting experience. And that's unfortunately what I know right now. I wasn't prepared for that one, Madam Chair.
Not a problem, not a problem. I can say I have been familiar with and known Mr. Gieske for about 40 years. And so he has, in the last few years, moved up to the Greenwood Lake area, and I think he'll be a real asset to the Planning Commission and to the community. Any questions for Neva? Any further discussion? If not, is there a motion to appoint Mike Gieske?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Swallison. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. We have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You have another member on your Planning Commission.
That's wonderful. I believe we still have one more vacancy, so work to be done for that. But thank you very much.
We will keep working on that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Neva.
All right. Now we move on to item 10, which is the Auditor. And if you'll recall, we have 3 items from the revolving loan fund that have been moved to that point. Before that, we asked Brady to talk about those items. Would someone like a break?
Madam Chair, I'd love a break. I did have a question, though, just a point of clarification for item 9A. I was distracted because of my need of a break, but I just didn't recall the motion or support there.
Oh, did I make a mistake? Let's go to April.
All right, Adriana.
Andrea?
I didn't get anyone.
Okay, that's right.
All right, thank you. I'm in La La Land. I do
No,
need
well.
more coffee. I was incorrect.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr.
I
Sell.
would move to approve the amendment of the Woodland Foothills Planned Unit Development Conditional Use Permit to accommodate for modification in setback distances.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Swellison. Is there support? Thank you, Commissioner
support.
Storley. Any further discussion, other than my lack of coffee? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll take a break. I'll try to find some caffeine. Thank you.
Well, several other people that need it, including me.
Just give me a kick if I.
A
gentle kick.
Well, you know, it kind of, did we do this? And then I was like, well, maybe we did. And I just missed it.
I'm daydreaming there. I started at 5.
Oh, goodness.
That's good to check.
My eyes were so tired by, 5.
I saw that you were sending out emails at like 6 o'clock. So I thought, well, she's got an early start.
I try not to do that. But yeah. We were in the Waback this weekend for a ski race at Giants Ridge.
Oh, okay.
And it was brutally cold. It was 25 below when I woke up on that morning. But it just sucks out all the time out of my weekend when we travel for a race and there's so much gear, and then Paul and I are both coaching, so there's like no breaks. It's really fun. And I did decide that I can be tough to the cold this weekend. You don't need to be such a whiner about
Well,
it.
it's hard in the Southeast, so it's got to be in the blood.
But I grew up in the tropical suburbs of Minneapolis, so but I find that people who grew up here as kids are just so hardy to the cold.
Yeah.
My kids are, it's crazy. And Paul, despite my objection, he dropped some cash on a electric heated vest for me. It's really cool technology. You put the battery pack in the pocket, and you just wear it under your coat with just a thin layer underneath it. And the battery is Bluetooth enabled, so you can use your phone to like turn up the heat or turn down the heat. It's amazing.
Yeah, it
So
sounds
I got
amazing.
the heated vest, the heated boot warmers, and then those disposable hand warmers in my mittens. It is true what the Scandinavians say, that there is no bad weather, just bad clothing.
Yeah. Well, and the cold, wind makes such a huge difference. Like I was telling my wife, I would rather have, 5 below and no wind than like 20 degrees and a 30-mile-an-hour wind.
It's true. Yeah, we had no wind in Boavic, so that made a big difference.
Sir?
Right. Well, yeah, he's got a whole book on that. I don't think he went into that substance, but yeah, just that. It's
I mean, if that's,
very intriguing. They're doing research and whatnot.
if that's real, that's a huge,
Right? Yeah.
important thing.
Very powerful.
Okay,
So I'm trying to stay away from coffee. That's the moral of that story.
yeah. Oh, that's what it tells you.
But all the sleep study specialists say
Okay.
the quarter life is 12 hours long, the half-life is 6 hours long, but because it's almost billed as free energy, it's because there's no caloric. It just it blocks receptors that are slowing you down. But those chemicals are still in your system, so once the blockage goes away, then it slows you down even more. There's a buildup of it.
And you want more.
Well, there's that, and it just affects you negatively if you don't have it. And
Yes.
it's very interesting.
Boy, this is coming up fast.
It's kind of riding there's the wave and then the trough.
I can think of the
So excited.
first time I was on I don't know if it was a canoe trip.
I'm talking about it for a
Without
year.
it.
I know.
And I went, oh,
So,
I'm having
Yeah, I
withdrawal.
was kind of hoping things would subside on the rate of
Yeah, you got
infections
headaches.
and things, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. you will.
Of course,
What?
when you don't have
Do what we gotta
something
do.
you have to do,
Don't want to slow
that's
it
probably
down.
want
the
a
best
little
time for
bubble.
the
I know.
withdrawal.
Yeah,
Because- but it-
it crossed my mind, but it's like, well, I
Even
don't
just
want
the-
to slow it down either.
Back in the
Yeah,
day.
that's, I've tried to
in
think about what
England,
are the things that are important enough to
they,
me that I
you know,
will put myself
alcohol
out
was
there.
the safest thing to drink because the water quality was
Yeah.
so poor.
Right.
Absolutely.
But then
I've
came
read that.
coffee,
I read that.
and then you had
with,
that boiled water to make the coffee, so
Mhm.
then it made the water safe, and then it increased productivity as well, because people are working faster, and you're not, the alcohol isn't a factor, you know, so.
You just need to cut down the strength.
Yeah, yeah, well, I'm on green tea now, that's my,
Just the part you need.
but then I need more breaks too, of course.
Walkthrough with the judge go yesterday.
But that was, I guess, the creation of the 15-minute break was
Because of that.
because of coffee.
Well, they just, cigarettes had to be part of that too.
All
Maybe.
right, well,
This
now
probably
that
came
we're back and we've had our break, we're ready to continue, and we have Auditor Powers with us to talk a little bit about some items being brought before us today regarding the revolving loan fund.
Madam Chair, I don't see any coffee.
I didn't want to take another break before we end, so.
I made a note. If I'm not sure somebody made a motion, ask. I wrote it down and went, I must have missed it. Thank you, Madam Chair. So the first request is from Marais Family Dentistry. It came before the committee on January 12th. We've been talking to them previous to that. They're asking for a $75,000 grant from the revolving loan fund. As you can see, if you've driven by, their footprint is changing, and they're adding a lot of equipment, 3 new chairs. It's going to expand their ability to take care of more patients, and I don't remember exactly how, but some of the lower income people, and they're adding a dental therapist, I believe, through all this, and their request is just under a third as is the limit on our fund. So a quorum of our committee met on January 12th and recommended approval of this loan, of course, subject to a loan agreement and promissory note and security, personal security, and equipment, a UCC. They're purchasing a lot of equipment, and their banks are going to take the mortgages, and the best option for us, we determined, was equipment as collateral. So that's the recommendation.
All right.
As for any questions.
Questions for Auditor Powers? I know I'm certainly excited that they're expanding. I was happy to see that addition going up. I know that they're very, very busy, and they serve a lot of people. They do a lot of free dental work for kids, and I'm just really excited to see the business going in a great direction and provide more services to our community, so we don't have people driving to Duluth for dental services. It's nice to be able to do the work here. Any other questions or remarks? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to approve $75,000 loan to Marais Family Dentistry.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. Is there support?
Wallace supports.
Thank you, Commissioner Swallowson. We have a motion and we have support. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The second request we looked at that day from Stephanie Shea and Dave Catlette, and they would like to purchase, or they're in the process of purchasing, the Cross River Lodge, and they're also asking for a $75,000 loan. And of course, this is, they're all subject to approval of all of the revenue sources. In their case, it's a pretty complicated, or just a little more complicated, let's say, than usual. And their sources of revenue, the bank, SBA, of course, some equity of their own, and a seller promissory note, and then a personal contribution. So it's subject to all of those sources of revenue coming to fruition and getting proof of those. And I guess I'd just wait for any questions. They're constructing it. They're not looking at a lot of physical changes. The opportunity that they saw was in modern marketing techniques and to be open more in the winter months when the current owners would close shop and head south. So they saw a couple of opportunities there and making this request to keep that lodge going. And I should say, one of our members sat out the vote, so it was unanimous of all the others, and she sat out because not a real conflict, but she's got a close relationship with their business across the lake, and just felt it was better to sit out the vote. So.
All right. I would agree. Good to keep it clean. All right. Thank you for sharing that. Commissioner Storley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Where is Cross River Lodge? Is it a business that already exists?
Yeah, it's been there for 100 years. It's, I don't know exactly where it is, but it's on Gunflint Lake. Gunflint Lodge is down on the southern part. I think this is up
It's at
on
the
the
end.
northeast.
It's on the same road as Gunflint Lodge, only further down?
No, it's
Farther
on.
down.
Yeah,
Further
you go
beyond.
farther down on the Gunflint, but it's on Gunflint Lake.
No.
Just,
Round the bend.
I think it's
Okay.
northwest.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Northwest.
I don't know how far around that corner.
Thank you.
Madam Chair. Brady, can you talk about the unimpaired collateral? With the furniture, fixtures, and equipment, that gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Oh, and we just want to confirm that there's no other lien on that collateral.
Okay.
That's all. So it won't go through unless we confirm that also. Sorry, I should have mentioned that.
And thank you. I guess what I'm trying to say is just, I want to see this. I want to see this. I want to see success here, and want to support the business in their endeavor. I just from previous revolving loan fund requests and the county's involvement in actions we had to take, selling property, trying to get our money back, sort of thing. It made me uncomfortable to see collateral being resort furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So I didn't know how much weight was on that, if that was something we needed to consider.
Yeah, and one thing we've done with all of these loans now is the personal guarantees and the security agreement, which Molly has put those together. And it's exactly to address that. So we used to go in these with a promissory note and this kind of collateral. And this way, we've at least we do have their personal guarantee, which is all their personal assets, et cetera. And it still will not go through unless we confirm that unimpaired collateral. So we have that also.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not that we're really leaning on that. It's just another confirmation of the soundness of the request. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm trying not to have at least a two-legged stool.
Great analogy. All right. Any further questions? Commissioner Hawkins.
I just want to say, the revolving loan fund committee, this was a complicated one to work through, and it took more than one meeting to come to this conclusion. Brady, have we received all those guarantees
No,
from them yet?
not yet,
Okay,
no.
so, yeah,
So it'll
we're going to
still be
make
some
sure
time.
that we're
Right.
contingent, but I just know that we talked about it that day, that,
Yeah.
okay, well, we want to make sure they send them in, so.
Yeah, their enthusiasm and really kind of won us over because I didn't think it would happen. Like, we've been talking to them for a couple of months, and they had to go back and kind of start over on the financing, and then some great things happened for them too, including some personal support, et cetera, to really make us, give us kind of some, okay, they've got enough breathing room, we think they can do it, so.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Commissioner Hawkins. Appreciate that. Any other questions or discussion? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make the motion to approve the $75,000 loan to Stephanie Shea and Dave Catlette.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. Is there support?
Solison supports.
Thank you, Commissioner Solison. We have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now your last item, Auditor Powers, the Norpine Trail Association.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this one is a little unusual compared, oh, sorry, I thought I shut that off. Yeah, in that this is a request from a trail association, kind of almost an emergency request. They've lost their piston bully for grooming trails. Engine is shot. It's a very old machine. They can't find a replacement engine. That would have been their first option, but they found a used piece of equipment for $80-some thousand. Southern Minnesota, and they have a good share of the revenue they need, but not quite enough. And they've asked us, and we've looked at these both ways. We've done some loans like these direct from the county and some from the revolving loan fund. We're doing so much through other county loans, including our ag, septic systems and things like that, that I thought we should go this way if we can. We've got a lot of money in the revolving loan fund. It does meet the requirement. It does keep people directly employed. They have at least two running those machines, and so it does keep people employed. It has a secondary help on the local businesses. So, and their request is for almost exactly a third of that cost. They don't know if this will actually happen. There are other entities looking at that same piece of equipment. So they're hoping we will, this will only go through if that happens. Otherwise, we'll regroup and see if there's another request or if they have another option.
All right, so it sounds like time is of the essence, and it is winter, and we understand the need for a piston bully. Any other questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, wouldn't you know, it's winter. Tom McElwain from Cascade called me in December and said, oh, machine went down, now we have to groom. They go behind Cascade Lodge and do all that area off of County Road 7. And he said, I just want to give you a heads up that we're looking at used equipment. We have some money, but we'll be coming to the revolving loan for a little bit more to help them out. So right now they're grooming with a snowmobile, just to help people out, but it's not the same.
Absolutely.
If you have time, there are often, federal equipment grants, but those are real timing issues. You have to be way in advance, get letters and letters of support, and then hope, because it's a lot of competition. I mean, that's potentially years away.
Well, I appreciate all the background information and discussion. Any further discussion or questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I'd motion to approve $26,796 from the revolving loan fund to Norpine Trail Association for the purchase of a used piston bully.
Thank you, Commissioner Spallison. Is there support?
Storley support.
All right, we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Thank you, Auditor Powers, and I'm sure you're going to get on the phone and share some good news. All right, thank you so much. All right. Next item on our agenda is with our administrator.
Indeed. Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners and members of the public. Obviously, we already covered the extension item, so I'll go to the RFP for professional services to assist in the update of our capital improvement plan. This is something that we've been planning for since the middle part of last year. This board went on a tour of county buildings to look at the condition of buildings back in April. And obviously that tour, I think, illustrated fairly starkly some of the issues that we're dealing with. And so we did develop a capital improvement plan back in 2017, 2018. A lot of the information that was generated to develop that plan is still valid. There are some things that have changed, of course, not the least of which is our population growth has far exceeded what was anticipated by the last CIP update. We were anticipating that the county's population would be about, if I remember correctly, 5,440 people by 2040. And lo and behold, our population in the 2020 census was actually 5,600. So the growth trend has increased significantly from what we've seen in the past, and that's going to have implications for the county scope of services, the number of people that we're going to be serving in the future. And so part of this work is going to be to try to forecast what those needs are going to be and make sure that our space is right-sized to provide for the level of service that we're going to need to offer the community. That's not to say that I anticipate we're going to be building a bunch of new buildings, because there are also some trends that are reducing pressure to have a lot of office space, and that's primarily related to our remote work policy and the amount of remote work that staff have been doing since the start of the pandemic. So a number of factors to consider here, and those are really driving the need to update this plan. I want to say I did, when I was developing the scope of work for this, I did run it by the Budget and Facilities Advisory Committee. I got some really helpful feedback from them and incorporated their suggestions in the project scope of work. The format of this document is different from what the Budget and Facilities Advisory Committee reviewed, because it's just a more structured and formal document that better defines what the project schedule is going to be and what the process is for firms that want to respond. So just to briefly summarize the project schedule, assuming that the board approves the issuance of the RFP today, we would publish it tomorrow, Wednesday, January 26th. We would give respondents until Friday, February 25th to get their responses in. I'm planning to schedule a meeting of the Budget and Facilities Advisory Committee on Wednesday, March 9th to review the applications and schedule interviews with the top firms. And then I would hope to be able to bring to the board a proposal to contract with the selected firm on March 22nd. It's actually a fairly aggressive timeline. There may be a need to adjust it, but this is what I'm shooting for right now. So I should also mention I've started developing a list of firms that we're going to reach out to solicit interest in this opportunity. I've got a list of 14 firms currently, most of which came from the AMC annual meeting vendor list. So, and I know Commissioner Hawkins, you spoke to a firm that was really interested in our work. I think that was ICS, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I can't think of the name of it
Okay.
right now. But yeah.
Well, there were several firms that were at the conference, and so they're all on the list. And then I'm also doing an internet search to just try to identify some additional firms that may be appropriate to reach out to. So that is the RFP. I should mention too, it's not clear exactly what the cost of this will be. We'll have to see when the offers come back from the respondents. we would be using unallocated funds from the building fund to pay for this.
Thank you very much for a thorough document, and I personally appreciate the input that you've received from the Budget Advisory Committee, the fact that you reached out to everybody, had an opportunity to review that information myself, and I certainly like the timeline. It is very aggressive to be considering getting back to us by the end of March, so I appreciate all of your work on that. Any other questions for Administrator Yorkie? Any further discussion? Commissioner Swallowson.
I think this is a great idea because of the issues we're dealing with right now and the staffing constraints that we're under right now. But I just want to make the point that we can bring a firm in that can assist us by doing a lot of the heavy lifting with putting together structure and these types of things. When it comes to the actual prioritization of the work and this type of thing, of what we need to have done, and then prioritizing, that's really going to take our people's involvement, because
Absolutely.
I just didn't want anyone from the public or anybody else watching this to think that we were going to hire a firm that was going to come in and just absent input from the rest of the folks, come in and just deliver a product to us, because it just doesn't work that way. But certainly, this is high on my priority list to get this and get a product so that we can then, bake that into our projections going forward, just as we have with the highway department. So I really want to do this, and I see the need to try to get some assistance to make it happen. It would be great if we could facilitate it all within our own organization, but I think the importance of this dictates that we actually go out and get some help to get it done. The sooner the better.
Commissioner Swalson, I really appreciate that observation, and would also offer that, I think it's going to be really important for us moving forward, both in the development of a new CIP and in whatever activities come out of the CIP, for there to be a lot of communication with the board, with the public about the process, so that it's very transparent, so that people understand the direction that we're taking and have a chance to provide feedback. I know that, in our county in particular, there are a lot of folks paying attention to this work. And I think it can only be successful if we are very open about what we're doing and gather as much public feedback as we can. Yep. So that's what I anticipate moving forward. I'm really excited to get the ball rolling on this. I think it's much needed, and am eager to get a direction so that we can start moving forward in developing a new CIP and making sure that we're positioned to meet the community's needs in the future.
Any further questions? Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Minister Yorkie, for putting this together. And the Building Committee also had a chance to look through it and gave some input. And one paragraph I want to point out that I'm particularly pleased with under the general information is the county has traditionally used a low-bid approach to constructing and upgrading its buildings. This has resulted in the use of inferior materials and equipment, leading to higher operating costs and ongoing maintenance needs. In the update of its CIP, the Cook County desires to move to a life cycle costing approach that prioritizes the minimization of long-term costs in order to provide greater value to county taxpayers and greater predictability in the operation and maintenance of county buildings. I think this paragraph right there is very important, and I'm very pleased to see that. Just today, we approved a purchase for something that required replacement because of a lower grade and a lower bid cost in its initial operation or what purchase, whatever. So one other thing I just want to point out is as we move forward, our energy costs are going to be going up significantly. And so I think the energy efficiency side of things is very important when we're calculating these life cycle costs. And, I know that we've talked about that, at least Administrator Yorkie, you've talked about it in the past. I don't know if it's needed to spell out specifically in here, or if that's just implied in that life cycle cost. That's what I read from it, at least, but just wanted to point that out as well. So. thank you for that paragraph in particular.
For sure. It's important.
Other questions or comments? If not, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I will move to approve the issuance of the request for proposals for the professional services to assist in the update of the county's capital improvement plan.
Thank you, Commissioner Swallowson. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. We have a motion and support. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Moving on to other items to report, just a couple things today. I've been spending a lot of my time recently kind of coordinating the process to recruit a new executive director for the Housing and Redevelopment Authority. The solicitation for applications closed on Friday, the 21st of January. Happy to report that we have 12 applicants for the position. And I would say it's a strong field. We have some people, excuse me, who have really great qualifications for the job. And so we are, I've shared those applications with the Housing and Redevelopment, Housing Redevelopment Authority board members. They're going to be reviewing those and getting feedback to me by the end of the week. And then based on the ratings that the review committee assigns, we're going to be inviting folks for first round interviews starting next week. So things are moving along fairly quickly. The goal is to have somebody on board as the executive director by the 1st of April. And with any luck, we might be able to do it a little bit sooner. So really excited about that. Obviously, there's a lot of interest about this in the community. The housing needs in our community are acute. And, you know, one of the first things that the HRA director will be doing is really coordinating the development of a community-wide housing strategy. And it's not just about workforce housing, although we do talk about that a lot, and that is a need. But we also need housing for seniors. We need housing for folks with disabilities. And so it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all approach. I anticipate we're going to need more single-family housing, multifamily housing, possibly even tiny houses and accessory dwelling units. And there are, excuse me, pardon me. Okay, there are, you know, policy tools that we can use to promote the availability of these different kinds of housing. And I think that's going to be an important part of what the HRA board and director work on in the coming year. So just really excited to get this process underway and look forward to having more information for you in the coming weeks.
Thank you very much, and it's exciting to hear we have 12 applicants and are moving forward in a quick fashion. And we hope we have housing for who is ever hired.
Yep. And I should mention also, in addition to the 5 HRA board members, we have Commissioner Hawkins, who's the board liaison to that committee, who's going to be involved in reviewing applications, as well as you, Madam Chair. And then also, we're going to be getting some help with that from Beth Drost, who's the executive director of the EDA. So really happy to have that team working together. And again, I'll just say, we've got a really great HRA board, and I think that's going to make this process really fruitful. I think they've got a lot of great experience to draw from in evaluating these applicants, and really, really excited that we've got them on board. And I just have I feel a strong sense of optimism about our prospects for getting somebody really great hired and getting a robust process underway. So.
All right, well, thanks for sharing that good news.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate it.
Then the other thing I wanted to report on, the comp study that we're planning for, we did have follow-up conversation with Tessa Melvin at David Drown Associates, and I am planning to bring forward a contract proposal next week to hire DDA to assist us with compensation study. So that is in process. And then there are dozens and dozens of other smaller things that I won't talk about today, but There's no end to the variety that you encounter in a job like this. So keeps things very interesting. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, we'll move on at this point with employee concerns, commissioner concerns. And Commissioner Hawkins, can you share with us about the Arrowhead Regional Corrections meeting here in Cook County?
Yes, so at our ARC meeting on Friday, the board reaffirmed that they wanted to go to the different counties to meet. And it was suggested that June would be a time to come to Cook County. I don't know why they didn't want to come in winter, but so I'm bringing that forward to ask that I can say, yes, on June 17th at 10 a.m., we can use the commissioner's room for an ARC meeting, and that it get posted so that any of you want to come and, or the public want to come and join us at our meetings. I think that would be great to learn what this board is doing and working on.
All right. Well, that sounds exciting, and June is a good time to come to Cook County, so we would welcome them. Have we checked to make sure the commissioner's room is available?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. Well, that's really good news. We'll get the word out. Appreciate that. All right, and then we just have some information from our 2022 ACA legislative priority results. Commissioner Storley, any remarks you'd like to share?
Yes, I think according to all the other counties, look where our first priority was, and we're the only one.
Yeah.
But it shows, you know, where we are with, where we look at things and bonding and, you know, the whole thing. But I just thought I want to share that with you,
Yeah,
so that.
appreciate it.
Because we went through the process, the end result is interesting. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Commissioner reports and meeting updates. Anyone? Commissioner Swallow.
I will just share as part of the North Shore Management Board during our discussion at the last meeting, the City of Two Harbors has decided to put a moratorium on short-term rentals to better understand the effects and how it's occurring and what they can do on that, because again, they're still looking with a high priority on housing down there. I thought the interesting part of the discussion, this was carried forward by the City Council, the Lake County commissioners did not choose to put a moratorium on that from a county perspective when they looked outside of the city at what was being utilized as short-term rentals and that type of thing. They were generally at a higher cost point, or they were like in resorts or this type of thing where it didn't really fit what they were targeting for housing. And so that was the reasoning and the discussion behind that. But I did ask that question of why just the city, not the county, and we had good discussion on that, and I wanted to just share that with the board.
Thank you for doing that. Other commissioners, Commissioner Storley.
Thank you. Last week at our ARDC meeting, we had a presentation in regards to every 5 years they review their economic platform and where the money's going and where the money's coming in and how they spend it. And Administrator Yorkie, I believe you did get a little update on the fact that Paul would come to any county board that wanted to invite him to give a presentation to the boards. Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering if that's something we'd want to do in the future. It really has to be done by the end of April. So we want to do a formal invite to him. He'd be more than happy to. And I think it's important for all of us to just understand where ARDC plays in all of our funding, and they get, you know, a lot of federal grants and certainly state grants that keep them going as a function. It's a huge function for northern Minnesota. ARDC covers a lot of areas. And if you're not familiar with some of the things they support, this would be a good way to understand what they do in our area. So we could kind of plan on that in the future. Great, thank you.
Thank you. Other commissioners? Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to share with the board and the public for that matter that in our benefits committee, we've been talking about ways, different ways to support employees, and one of the topics that was brought up was our employee assistance program. And I get the impression that it is not being utilized as much as it can be throughout our organization, and I am just as guilty as the others who are not using it. And so I went online and filled out the form, and it's probably something I should have done 3 years ago. And it was a little intimidating to fill out the form, but it doesn't need to get too personal at that stage, and then click submit. And then I think it was maybe 24 hours later that I got a call from the EAP from Sand Creek, who I think is bought out now by One Health or something like that. But they were very friendly and said that there was someone who would be willing to do telehealth or a virtual session. And so, and they would be in touch with me. And they did get in touch with me, I think it was on a Saturday even, which I thought was very accommodating and impressive. And then we were able to set up a meeting lickety-split. So I wanted to try it, both for myself, but also just to give more perspective for employees to see how this works, because I really didn't know. And thus far, I can report it's a very painless and very, frankly, enjoyable experience. So for all of us commissioners, I would highly recommend it. Just, we get 6 free ones a year. This job is very taxing on our mental health and our work-life balance. And even if you just make an appointment once every 2 months, I think that goes a long way in just having someone to bounce ideas off of, or frustrations or whatever. And there's really no commitment. It's just whatever anyone is comfortable with. And I'd also really encourage all of our employees to do the same, just once every 2 months, and those are all free. And if more is needed, then HSA money can be used for that. Different providers of services do accept just straight up insurance as well, so there are different options to pay for that. But I think it's a very powerful and valuable benefit that we have as county employees, and I hope more employees utilize that. So just wanted to give a little mini report there.
Well, thank you for sharing that information, and I would encourage all of us to try it out. That's great. Thank you so much. Anything else? So next week, we have some important work coming up. We have our AMC Tribal County Relations training, and Ellers also has some training that's going on. We do have our sales tax report for information only. And before I close, I would like to recognize we have some new hires. We have something to celebrate. Karen Christianson, as our Veterans Services Officer, will be replacing Pat Strand. Nick Honer, Deputy Auditor, Payroll Benefits Specialist. I'm sure Brady is particularly thrilled about that. And Marcus Childs serving as Deputy Sheriff. So welcome to all of those individuals. We're appreciative they've chosen Cook County as their place of employment. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, Commissioner Mills.
Motion to adjourn, please, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Support.
We have a motion and support, and we are adjourned. All right, thank you.
You guys are so efficient.